This is Curtis coming back at you from Aceperhead Studios. We're going to talk about that wild and wacky free agency period. This is one of the craziest, if not the craziest free agency period that I can remember. Things are out of control. The Chiefs cut their entire offensive line. If you have any injury history, it seems like, or if you're even close to being old, you're getting cut. Top players are hitting the market everywhere. Players are moving back and forth from teams. I can't even keep up with it. It's so crazy. But this is because the cap dropped as much as it did. It went from an expected over $210 million per team and a currently $198 per team to $182. That's almost a 10% drop in your cap. The whole world's suffering from COVID. You've got people not showing up to games. You've got a drop in your viewership. The cap is plummeting. It seems like we could be entering a whole new era of football. And this free agency period has to put the fear of God into a lot of these players because the future is very uncertain. A new bit of news came out today. I want to read it. That could possibly be a saving grace to this big financial problem that's going on. And it was that the NFL has made long-term agreements with media partners, Amazon, CBS, ESPN, ABC, Fox, and NBC to distribute NFL games across television and digital platforms. And it will begin in 2023 and go to 2033. So it looks like they have a contractual base. I don't know what the actual contract says, but it seems like that maybe things could stabilize in 2023. But at this point, you're looking at 2021 is already down 10%. Could it even drop more in 2022? And are we going to see a huge rise in 2023? We don't know. But as it stands, this cap situation is changing everything. Teams that know how to spend wise, know how to draft, find back-end talents, it looks like they're going to have a very strong ability to put forth a good team. And as it stands now, we have whole faces of teams changing. Now, one team that flipped from cap conscious to total splurging is the Patriots. They're going to be a team to watch to see if they see how it tests against this new cap. But most teams, they're getting cap conscious. They're pulling themselves together, and just players have just been moving around everywhere. What I think that is going to be very interesting is free agency going forward from this point. Are we going to see two free agency periods sandwiched around the draft? Because there's so many top players just sitting there. I mean, guys that are stars. Yeah, some of them, most of them might be a little old. They might have a little injury history. But these are elite players and elite talents just sitting there waiting for a team to pick them up. So it appears that this first free agency period is going to be the lion's share of the money, the good contracts. But with all these top players, I mean, look at the list of some of these top players that are still out there. Philip Lindsay, good running back. He's cut. Fournette just won a championship. It was one of the main reasons why the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl, and he's sitting there. You got Juju Schuster. You got T.Y. Hilton. You got Fisher, left tackle Fish, who got cut from the Chiefs. Now he's out there. Sheldon Rankins, Aldon Smith, Melvin Ingram, Clowney, and more. Pro Bowl and recently former Pro Bowl players. So what is this going to mean? Our team's going to go through the draft, find what they can get on a cheap, and then come back for a second wave once the draft's done of another mini run of free agent signings. So I find that very, very interesting. It changes the complexion of the game. And players that didn't sign big contracts, they're going to regret it. It's going to be very, very hard to get huge contracts going forward unless you're absolutely elite or a quarterback. So, if you're a team out there and you got some holes, you're going to pick up one of these elite players on the cheap And some of them, they're going to struggle again with their age. They're going to struggle with injuries. That's just, the roll of the dice. But some of these teams are going to land an elite player or a high-quality player on the cheap, and it's going to impact the season. So, I mean, you look at teams like the Miami Dolphins, my guys. They have loads of draft picks. Are they going to trade back and get more? How much more valuable is draft picks now? Think about that. If your cap is stagnant or descending, cheap players' ability to pick up more draft picks by trading back is going to be even far more crucial. Are we going to see an extension of the NFL draft? I mean, you have every year, the best teams in the leagues are usually, 80% of the time probably, are the guys that can find good undrafted rookies. Is the NFL going to say, hey, this cap situation, we need to extend the draft? At one point it was, 14, 15 rounds. Are they going to add an extra round or two? The NFL, the way teams construct their franchise, their regimes, how they put together all their player rosters and how you design your team and the vision you have to create, quote unquote, a team that can win something is going to change. And look at Dallas. They spend $40 million a year roughly on Dak Prescott. And up to this point, he's a pretty good quarterback, but he's not great. What is that going to do to your cap? Is that going to be a way to build a team anymore? I don't know. To me, it's very, very interesting. I actually prefer this possible cap-conscious era that's entering the NFL. But it's going to bring a lot of uncertainty, and it's going to demand excellence from scouts, from GMs, from the whole front office in general. So, honestly, the future is uncertain. Who knows? Just like in 2004 with the Ty Law rule, when all of a sudden Peyton Manning and I believe Tom Brady too went to the office and said, hey, man, this is too physical. This needs to be enforced differently. And all of a sudden it started a new era of passing. Passing stats exploded. All-time records were being broken. The league decided, this is where we want to go. They started enforcing new rules on the quarterback to protect them, make the passing game, de-emphasize the run game and physicality. All of a sudden, the NFL is not the same league as it was, 15 years ago. Is this going to do the same thing? I don't know. But I'll tell you, 17 million drop is shocking. And I think that as you look around the world, everyone's pulling their belts to tighten up. And the NFL could be the next one. But the good news is this makes for a more interesting league. And honestly, in my opinion, it's going to demand teams not to have elite rosters as much as deep rosters. You're always going to need talent. You're going to need a few stars. But teams that are the deepest, the youngest, and have the best cap numbers are going to be the ones that are going to be more competitive. This allows many more teams into the game. So, all right, let's take a look at my winners and losers of this wild, wild free agency. And I think that, you have to almost start with the Patriots. It's so bizarre. It's either genius or insanity that Bill Belichick has run the tightest ship in the NFL probably, or, one of the closest, of his entire career as a Patriots head coach. When money was flowing everywhere, and now that the purse strings are being tightened up, he's like a starving drunk, just goes to an all-you-can-eat buffet. He's eating everything. He spent $200 million on new players, which is totally contrary to his MO from all this time. You have to respect Bill Belichick, whether you love him or you hate him. The man, some people say he doesn't draft well, and there's been issues and this and that. And, you're coaching that long, I think you fall into, lulls. That's another thing to debate about. But Bill Belichick is an absolute genius. He's had the ability to flip the script on so many things, whether it's the coming out in the in the gray hoodie, not even, it's all about team, to going to the 2 tight end set, which, that totally changed offense. The way he runs his defense is on and on and on it goes. Sometimes they've been winners, sometimes they've been losers. The Super Bowl where he decided to pull his top cornerback, and that was like and it ended up being an issue. But still, bottom line is, you have to think he's crazy like a fox. And when you go over the players that he's acquired, you have to be impressed. You have to be. You got Cam Newton back. Everyone's like, Cam Newton. But really, I mean, so many players are missing on the Patriots last year. Their offense, they were missing a lot of skill position, a lot of wide receiver threats. They rectified all that. So let's break it down. Judon from Baltimore. He's not the same guy he was in 2018. But I wanted the Finns to go get him last year. He's a guy that you know he's smart. You know he's got talent. You know Belichick can find a place for him. That was a good pickup. They picked up they got Van Noy back from my Dolphins. I mean, a 1-year purchase. And they got it. They have him for half of what the Dolphins were playing. And he, last year with the Dolphins, I guess if you're a Patriots fan, you know Van Noy. He wasn't who he was in 2019. He made big plays, but he was a little inconsistent, especially in the run game. And he had a little bit of injury history, which he's kind of always had. But he made impact plays, but there was a little inconsistency lost. But he's going back, and he's probably going to do the same thing. And that's exactly what Belichick needs. He's going to come in, probably play less snaps. He was asked to play a lot of snaps last year with the Finns. He was expected to be a leader, make that big payday, worth it. And I think maybe it'd been a little too much. But pair him up with Judon, and you got 2 excellent interchangeable linebackers. You can move them around. Very, very good. Very good move there. Godchow, who came from the Finns, he's terrible in 2-gap. You ask him to soak up blockers, he's not good. He's coming off a serious injury. But as a 1-gap penetrator, shooting that gap, he can be devastating. And you know that Belichick's going to get him to play that role. And I think that could have a huge effect. I think definitely you're going to see him make a couple of big plays throughout the year. Without a doubt, some sacks, some negative runs. So you'll see him pop occasionally. And with what he's getting paid, really, that's all you're going to ask. And you know that Patrick Chung's retiring, so you Pats fans aren't going to be happy about that. But you have Dalen Mills, quality safety coming in. He's going to try to fill that. I don't know if he's as big a hitter. I haven't watched his tape, but he was a quality safety. He's a good player. You got somebody in there to kind of either mimic Chung or, hey, maybe even do better. Chung was kind of getting a little old, getting hurt year after year. So maybe he can actually do better, which is scary for me as a Dolphins fan. Should be scary for the league. But really where it starts to get, I'd say, crazy like a fox is the investment in the skill positions on offense. I mean, if you're a Pats fan, your tight ends, they were almost non-existent. Edelman got injured. Your receivers, they were thin. But look what they picked up here. It's. Let me get to the next page. We got lost here. Oh yeah. Hunter Henry, 24th best tight end in the league. Jonnu Smith, 12th best tight end in the league. This is where Bill Belichick's huge, crazy expenditures might be crazy like a fox. He has started an arms race of skill positions on offense in the AFC East. The Patriots, they struggled getting the ball downfield. The passing game, Cam Newton was considered a bust, all this other stuff. Bill Belichick just brought in the 24th best tight end, the 12th best tight end in Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. Not to say this is Gronk and Hernandez again, but there are shades of that when teams, opposing defenses, just were pulling their hair out trying to stop 2 talented tight ends. But he didn't stop there. He brought in 2 excellent receivers to add to to these two tight ends. They got Kendrick Bourne from the 49ers, 53rd best wide receiver as per PFF. They've got Nelson Aguilar, 46th best. They have Jacoby Myers already on the team. He was a 25th best. And you have Edelman, who last successful season was 48th best in the league, all these according to PFF. Now that's going to, just think about that. Edelman is going to be attacking the 4th best cover defender on opposing teams, along with possibly, Henry out there or Jonnu Smith. Teams are going to struggle. Cam Newton will have a resurgence. If not, then he's shot. He's shot. But most people don't realize. They think, Cam Newton, he's the runner and he's a big arm. Yes, he has a big arm, but a lot of his success comes in the intermediate game. He is very smart. He will handle the interior, the middle of the field. He'll distribute that ball. He will buy time with his legs. He's not really a deep threat. With this kind of talent, I think teams are going to have a lot of problems. And then you add Devin Asasi. I don't know but I've watched him play. The guy's a giant. He's 6'3", 280. So you're bringing him in there as practically an extra lineman. He's a tight end. He's going to dig out linebackers. He's going to dig out safeties. You can come with a beautiful 3 tight end set. You can come in, bring a 3 tight end set, 2 tight end set, 3 wide receivers, 4 wide. You basically can bring anything to the field, and this is going to be very scary. But the Bills might trump them. Almost. You have to believe that Josh Allen is the better quarterback. Josh Allen's rise, he's always been a monster. He has always made teams afraid of him with his movement, his big arm, even though he wasn't accurate. But what you saw from him this year, I'm a Dolphins fan, and I thought this was going to be my time. I thought I was finally going to get a chance to rise up out of the division. But I don't know. Look what the Bills got over here. They just brought in Emmanuel Sanders, 45th best receiver in the league. Stephon Diggs, 4th best receiver in the league. Guy's a deep threat monster. Cole Beasley, 17th best. And you still got Gabriel Davis. He was a rookie drafted last year. And, 77th best receiver in the league is not bad for receivers. Are notoriously slow to develop unless they're absolutely elite. So you have 4 quality receivers, just like the Patriots. The Patriots have the edge in tight ends, though. I'd say the Bills have the edge in the quarterback, obviously. Dawson Knox is the 45th best tight end, and that's a nice little piece there. I would not be surprised if the Bills add to their tight ends, maybe in the draft or that second free agency period. But right now, you have 2 teams in the AFC East that are going to make secondary scream. So when you look at both of these offenses, the amount of skill players is pretty shocking. It's going to stress secondaries across the league. This is just a serious aerial assault by both these teams. You're going to have a hard time. You're going to be hard pressed to see defenses stop these 2 teams. Now, the Bills do lack that edge in tight end, and I wonder if the Bills might be looking for another tight end, a more impactful playmaking tight end in the draft or in this possible second free agency period. I don't know. I think that my Dolphins and Jets are going to be in trouble. I don't know, unless, we got to see how things go. But both these teams are going for the gusto. And I think right now they look like the 2 giants of the AFC East. But there's a lot of other good teams, a lot of other good moves from other teams. I thought Baltimore with Kevin Zettler. I thought Baltimore with Kevin Zeitler was a great move because ever since Yonda's been off the team, you could see that they struggled to run the ball with ferocity, be able to, be able to punish the defense. So I think he's not Yonda's level. I mean, he's not top 5 like Yonda was, but he is a quality player, and I think that will help the Ravens get back there to being able to run the ball more forcefully. So I thought that was a really good move, And Joe Thuney to the Chiefs and Kyle Long coming out of retirement, which is really a wild one. That's look, Mahomes. He was a darling of the league, won the Super Bowl, came back, darling of the league. Then he lost 2 of his starting linemen and was made mortal in the Super Bowl. So it goes to show you that quarterbacks are not the end-all, be-all. If anything, the truth is the end-all, be-all is the offensive line. So with Thuney, you know what you're getting, a very good guard. Kyle Long was a very good guard, but he's been out of the league and he was injured, so I don't know, but Chiefs are getting back to what made them, which is a good offensive line. I thought they had to, with all the cuts they made, releasing Eric Fisher, so I thought that was nice. Browns getting John Johnson, the safety. Good player. Pairing him up with Ronnie Harrison. You got a good back end, really good front. You got the pressure coming. You'll be able to stop the run. They were one of the best in the leagues to stopping the run. Now you can kind of eliminate maybe those deep threats, those deep bombs, the big chunk plays. And Denzel Ward, good player, injury prone. So I expect them to add to that secondary, but the Browns, very smart to bolster that secondary because their defense, stopping the run is key to winning championships. It's crucial. And they have that. They got the pressure, but that secondary was kind of like Swiss cheese at times. So this was a very good move. Raiders picking up Kenyan Drake. He's a former Dolphin, so I got to see him run a lot. And out of the backfield, big plays, good player. I think that's a very nice find for them. Trent Williams, very, very rarely do you see greatness. And Trent Williams has demonstrated greatness. He's 32 years old. He dominated the league last year at 32. How the Washington Redskins screwed up Trent Williams is beyond me. This guy is probably going to go to the Hall of Fame. He got a long contract, a 4 or 5 year contract at 32. That's how good he is. So I got to give credit, big credit. They also picked up Alex Mack for center, the 49ers. So 49ers re-signed Williams, and they added Alex Mack. Now, Alex Mack is not the center he was a couple of years ago with the Falcons, but Kyle Shanahan knows him, and he loves those stretch zone runs, and Mack fits that perfectly. So they're really rebuilding that offensive line, adding some good players, and I really like that. Trench play is everything. Everyone says it's a team game. It is. Football is absolutely the greatest team game ever. With all this quarterback talk, people forget that. But if you're going to put one unit as the most crucial in the game of football, it is the offensive line. Offensive line sets the tone on offense and defense. They're not flashy. They're not pretty. But the offensive line keeps defense off the field when you can run the ball and you got time of possession, protects the quarterback, allows the running backs to run, and it gives times for the receivers to get the ball. And so the fact that these teams that are investing in their offensive line, I think, is just great. And this was another great move. Now, Washington, they did let Trent Williams go, but that was the old regime. I like where they're heading now. I think that is a totally different mindset and vision. I love the addition of Fitzpatrick. Last video I gushed about my love of Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick is going to make your team very competitive. I could see them making the playoffs. And the addition of Curtis Samuel, along with Terry McLaurin, is going to be a very fun show. Fitzpatrick, he gets a lot of heat about the Fitzmagic, Fitztragic. I said that in the last video. But he's going to get these balls. Curtis Samuel is going to allow a nice passing game for you guys. So Washington, they were a terrible franchise for years. Total debacle of a franchise. Now, don't hate me, Redskins, Washington football team fans or whatever. I'm a Dolphin fan, so I've been a debacle for a long time too. So I'm not throwing stones. If I am, I'm throwing them back at me. But you guys are doing the right thing and heading in the right direction. And Fitzpatrick, Samuel, and McLaurin are going to be very, very. I hate you guys. I hate the Redskins. Ever since Riggins had that run, man, and it made me cry as a little kid. I can't stand you. But you know what? I'm going to watch you guys and root for you this year. That's how much love I have for Fitzpatrick. And I really hope that he does bring the magic for you guys. He deserves it. He kind of got a little bit of a raw deal this year with the Finns. And that leaves me off at the end. The very last is my team, the Miami Dolphins. They have been a little cheap, but in this era, I think it's very wise. They brought about a bunch of different players. Vince Beagle, they brought him back after his injury. Quality player. He's going to fill in for Shaq Lawson, who got traded for one of the least talked about additions to a team is McKinney. McKinney, the middle linebacker from Texans, got traded over for Shaq Lawson. And the Miami Dolphins have been screaming and crying for quality middle linebacker play. And I really want to dig into that into another video. But Finns fans, McKinney is going to change the face of this defense. Yes, we were a good defense, top 5. But a lot of that had to do with Howard picking off, almost a dozen interceptions. You take that away, and you'd see the defense come back. And a lot of that was because they would let the run game, passing over the middle. McKinney, he's not a cover linebacker, but the guy is so smart. You watch film on him, and he's calling out plays as the quarterback's making the signals and calling that before they happen. And he's able to, even though he's not the fastest guy in the world, he's a giant, he's huge, he's 260, 6'4", he's able to put himself into position because of his intelligence and his physicality. Yes, totally different. Zach Thomas was a midget and he's a giant, but it's the same kind of deal. Great leaders, totally cerebral, totally physical. And, he's had injuries. His last season was okay. So there's a possibility that he could be on the downside, but I don't think so. I think Miami fans are going to see that run game. He's able to shed blocks. And the beautiful thing is like Raekwon McMillan, the former Miami Dolphins middle linebacker, they drafted second round, expected to be this and that. He had all the physical tools, but he didn't have the head. He couldn't read and react. He was constantly pulled away on play action. Too slow and slow reads to get into zone coverage. And when he would take on blockers, he would square up. And that's not really how you're supposed to do it. McKinney is able to see the play, see where it's going, use his intelligence to get there. And then when he takes on the blocker, he gets to the outside shoulder with leverage to where the play is going. And then he's able to peel off and make the tackle. And he does it time and time again. You watch tape, McKinney he could be he's not elite. I'd say he's good to maybe very good. 1 Pro Bowl, I believe. So that was a really, really good addition, a huge addition. To me, that was almost one of the top 3 or 4 needs for the Finns was middle linebacker. Jerome Baker, good guy. He's physical for a small guy, by 220, middle linebacker, and he doesn't read well. Terrible. This is going to change the Finns. And then they picked up Jacoby Brissette, which a lot of people, they're like, But when you go back and you look at Colts players, you look at the fans, they have nothing but respect for Brissette. I do think he is a step down from Fitzpatrick, but in reality, if you're trying to get to where he needs to be, you need somebody of a similar skill set and mindset. And Fitzpatrick is totally different than Tua. Totally. Brissette is more in the line of Tua, where it's the athleticism, the leadership, the mobility. He's not as accurate as Tua is. Tua was kind of like semi-accurate this year. There's a lot of issues. But Fitzpatrick uses his mind. And he's more of a cerebral type quarterback, where Tua is not there yet. He's got some time. Hopefully he doesn't really throw with anticipation. There's a whole host of things. But, he can grow into that. The guy is smart and super hard worker. But I think Brissette is a better challenge for Tua to overcome, to take the leadership. And he's a better mentor in a sense of looking at the skill sets with similar skill sets. So I really, really like Brissette. That was a great deal. And they just signed Will Fuller to a 1-year deal. Now, Will Fuller was rated, I think, by PFF, the 9th best receiver in the league. 4.3 40, 16.6 yards per reception. You add Parker, Gesicki, maybe Albert Wilson if he comes back. I don't know what the deal is, Grant, but there's a whole host of excellent talent to surround Tua with, or Brissette if he wins the competition, which I don't know if there's a real fair competition. But I really like what Miami Dolphins are doing. It adds a lot of questions, like what are they going to do in a draft? I mean, if they picked up Fuller, are they going to spend a number 3 pick on another wide receiver? Seems like they're going to go in another direction or possibly trade back. So I want to believe Miami can compete with the Patriots and the Bills, and I think there's a window for that. But Tua's going to have his talent. Will Fuller is going to open things up. Now, Tua needs to get that ball out. That's going to be interesting. Tua won't have excuses. We're going to know as Fin fans if he's the guy or not. This is the year for him. He doesn't have to win the Super Bowl. Doesn't have to be all world. But he's got to take a sizable step forward. So there's a lot more good moves by teams. I have to continue going and assess them. You'll read something, a blog, you even hear what I'm saying. This is a good, you got to look for yourself. You go to do the research and look in. But from the early research that I've done, these teams look like they're going to be smiling for their purchases. A lot more going down. I don't know what happened today, what's going to happen tomorrow. But free agency is still going. Like I said, there's so many players. So let's keep our heads on a swivel. If you're a fan of a team, you could get some serious cavalry at any point going forward. We don't even know who else is going to get cut. I mean, there could be some excellent players getting cut in the near future. So this is Curtis with Ace Bread Studios. I hope you enjoyed this little football talk. If you like this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.